Often tutors assume they're exhausted from teaching, when actually a huge amount of exhaustion is coming from everything surrounding the teaching. The repeated emails, the onboarding admin, the chasing, the scheduling, the tiny decisions that we repeat over and over again. Now, as part of this summer series, I've been thinking a lot about the kind of things that tutors can review before September arrives and the business starts to speed up again. And honestly, one of the biggest things tutors underestimate is how much unnecessary mental load exists inside their customer journey. Hi, if we haven't met, my name's Jane. I am the host of the Tutor Edit and founder of Brilliant Tuition, an online tuition business that supports students worldwide. Now, this is the second episode in my summer series, all about how tutors can use this point in the year intentionally before September arrives. And today, I wanted to talk to you about customer journeys, systems, and potential automations that we could include, not in a corporate way, but in a how do I make tutoring feel more manageable kind of way. Thinking about the long-term sustainability of your business and how we can streamline things to make life a little bit easier for us. Because the reality is, and I've absolutely been here myself, that many of us are carrying huge information and huge amounts of invisible operational work that every single week we really think about without ever stepping back to review whether any of it could be simplified. Because when you're in the middle of the year, the middle of the academic year, it's very difficult to take a breath and see what's working and what needs to be adjusted. So summer is a brilliant time to take a step back and review what's working and think about potential improvements that we could make. Because let's be honest, once September begins, most tutors go back into reactive mode. We get back to replying to emails, scheduling lessons, teaching, solving problems, keeping everything moving. Right now, there's a little bit of breathing space in your business during the summer. Take that time to review the experience that people have in your business from when they first meet you to the end of their journey. And that's what we'll be talking about today. Now, I've created a guide for you with some prompts. If you want to download it, you can use the QR code here. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're listening on audio, then I will link it in the show notes for you. Now, one thing that I've realised over the last 12 years of being a tutor and running a team is that often tutors think about their businesses almost entirely from the teaching perspective. It can become very easy to focus on the lessons, which obviously are absolutely important. And I'm not saying that they're not. But one thing that I've realised over the last 12 years of my own tuition and in conversation with others is that the pattern seems to be that we think about our businesses almost entirely from the perspective of teaching. And that's absolutely right, because it's the foundation of what we do. It is the service that we offer. But so often we're so focused on the lessons, the resources, the student progress. And obviously those things matter absolutely hugely. But what parents experience is much bigger than the lesson itself. They experience the inquiry process. They experience our emails. They experience the onboarding process. They make the payment system. They have the communication. They have to deal with the scheduling, the reminders, looking for clarity, for questions that maybe they need to ask. They are very much experiencing our business on a business level as much as they are on a teaching level. And all of those moments, those organizational moments, can shape how calm, how professional, how trustworthy our business feels. And this can often be quite underestimated. Now, a lot of the things that we hold can cause a lot of stress because we're doing everything manually. And look, I've absolutely been there myself. We are holding things manually every single week. Everything lives in our head. And if you've been tutoring for a while, you'll probably have processes that you repeat constantly. You will be sending the same emails. You will likely be answering the same kind of questions. You will very possibly be repeating the same policies constantly, sending invoices manually, maybe chasing forms, registration forms, or other paperwork that you need to get started. Maybe you are confirming lessons and you are likely to have a process for that. Maybe you're thinking about onboarding students and what is your process for that? It's very likely that you have one, even if it isn't written down or it's not automated yet. And individually, none of those tasks are huge tasks. But when they are together and you have a number of students, that becomes an enormous amount of mental clutter, of mental load to carry, especially when we become busy. And this is where automation can become really interesting for tutors. And it's worthwhile just spending a little bit of time reviewing what repeated processes, what repeated tasks are you doing, and where is the potential for automation. But automation is a really interesting conversation to have because we're not trying to remove the human side of our tuition business. Like, actually, it's completely the opposite. Because when you have some good automated processes in place, it streamlines things and actually protects your energy for the parts of your business that genuinely need you, that require a human touch. Because actually, if we think about it, is rewriting the same email for the 50th time a good use of our energy? Probably not. And I say this as somebody who has definitely done this over the last 12 years. So there's absolutely no judgment here. But this is something that I have conversations with tutors an awful lot. And many tutors come to this point of the year and realise a couple of things. You might have ended this academic year thinking, I simply cannot go on like this. I cannot hold every detail in my head forever. And this is an opportunity to put that right over the summer. Now, as our business has grown, as Vibrio Tuition has grown, it has become more complex because we have a team of tutors working with us. We have a number of students and families that are taking lessons with us. And that can bring complexity if there aren't systems underneath things. So we have had to have very clear systems, not very massively dramatically complicated ones, often very simple ones, things like email templates, so that we aren't replying to the same thing, rewriting the same email over and over again. We can just click the template, and there are very easy ways that you can do that. We have automation in place so that for inquiries, then an automated email will go out. And in other kind of key touch points in the business as well, there will be automation, automated emails that are sent out in response to a form being completed. We will have very clear onboarding forms that then are linked to a CRM that keeps everything in one place so that it isn't living in our head or in our inbox. We have very clear frequently asked questions documents now, because when I took the time to think about what are the questions that were asked over and over again, we created a document and parents can refer to that. It just reduces friction and repeated decision making, because that can bring a mental clutter for us, but it can also streamline and improve the customer journey for our families as well. And summer is the perfect time to review all of this, because during term time, you're in the thick of it, don't you? And actually, you can become so busy that you often don't notice where the friction is anymore. You just adapt to it because you have to fix it and cope with it and work around things. Whereas actually, now is a much more quiet time for us. Take some time to start seeing, why am I still doing this manually? Are there things in your business that you're still doing manually that would be very easy to upgrade and streamline? And that wouldn't reduce or diminish the quality that you're offering, but would actually enhance it. So, what tasks are you doing manually? You can make a list and think about, is there an opportunity to automate? You could also think about which questions you are answering repeatedly. Are you answering the same question repeatedly? And how could you streamline that for your families and clients as well? Is it something to do with your messaging? Is it something that you could send out in a welcome pack, for example? You could also think about what felt chaotic this year and what was the actual problem and how could we solve it or streamline things for next year. So, thinking about how you can map out your customer journey from start to finish is such a powerful tool. And in the guide that's available to download, you can use the QR code here to grab it or link it. I'll link the link in the show notes for you. You want to start thinking about from the moment that somebody has that first contact with you, all the way through the process until they end tuition and they leave. What is their experience at the moment? So thinking about that moment when somebody first discovers you, what is your inquiry process like? Are there any opportunities to improve or upgrade this? What then happens when they decide to go ahead with lessons? What is your onboarding system like, and what does that feel like? Are there any areas that you could upgrade or improve in that area? When they start lessons, how does that experience look for your client? And are there any opportunities to upgrade? Thinking about your ongoing communication. What could we streamline or what could we implement to make next year feel a little bit easier? And then at the end, what about reviews and feedback? Are you collecting that continuously through their experience? And I don't mean every week, but I mean at regular intervals to get an idea of how they're feeling, to quality assure, to get testimonials and feedback, not just at the end of the process, but throughout it. And then how does the offboarding process feel? And are there any opportunities to upgrade this experience for clients? Because actually, automation doesn't need to mean expensive software or complicated systems. Sometimes it's literally just saving email templates properly, having them stored in one place, and then updating your email provider so that you can just click on the template and upgrade it rather than writing it out over and over again. It could be something as simple as creating a welcome pack that has answers to their questions, and maybe it provides information of your terms and policies. It could be adding FAQs to your website so that you can refer clients to this when they have a question. It could be using an automated booking system, and there are many on the market that may be worth offering, may be worth investigating. It could be creating one onboarding workflow instead of reinventing everything each time, because tiny things can remove huge amounts of the mental load. And quite honestly, I took far too long to do this. And sometimes we avoid this kind of work because we're so busy in the moment. But actually, the interesting thing about customer journeys is that small improvements compound constantly. So thinking about a clear onboarding system not only improves the client experience, but it also saves us time because we're doing this repeatedly. So if we have a process, then that makes our job easier too. A better system reduces stress so that we're not spending our energy in unnecessary places. And a stronger structure for things protects our energy because we aren't having to make decisions all of the time. And over time, that matters enormously, because if you're trying to build a business that is sustainable in a long-term way, then this is also one of the points that tutors often begin evolving from. Oh, I'm a tutor, or I'm just a tutor. We hear that a lot, don't we? To, I am building a business. because businesses have structure underneath them. And this could help with your confidence as well, because otherwise everything starts depending entirely on your memory, on your availability, and also, let's be honest, on your emotional capacity as well at certain points of the year. And that over time becomes absolutely exhausting. So, one of our goals over the summer is just reviewing the back end structure of Vireo tuition. And I would definitely encourage you to do the same as well before September begins. Not because I want the business to feel robotic. Absolutely not. That's absolutely not the aim. It's the opposite, because I want the systems to become stronger so that more energy can go to the human side of the work that we do. And that's actually what I'm going to talk about in our next episode, because I think in a world that's becoming increasingly automated, driven by AI, and all of the kind of issues about authenticity, human connection matters more than ever. And I think that tutors need to be very careful about what is automated, but also what absolutely shouldn't. So I'm going to be talking about that next episode. Now, in terms of takeaways for today, the main thing that I want to leave you with is this. Before September arrives, review your customer journey properly. You can do it on a piece of paper yourself, or you can use the download that I've created. You can look for the parts of the business that are creating unnecessary repetition. There may be friction, or there may be a mental load that could be reduced. So ask yourself these questions. What could be simplified? What could be templated? And what could be automated? Because automation isn't about reducing the human side of tuition, it's about protecting your time and energy so that you can spend time and energy on the parts that actually matter. Thanks so much for listening to the Tutor Edit. In the next episode, I'm going to be talking about where human connection still matters in a world of automation, and why I actually think personal connection is becoming more valuable, not less. If you have enjoyed this episode, then please like and subscribe, and maybe share it with somebody else who would find it useful. I look forward to seeing you again. Have a great week. Bye.